can a young dating couple cultivate emotional connection / intimacy? How can you practically make yourself be seen and known in a relationship and let someone in? It's kind of what you talked about. Vulnerability.
So there's levels to a relationship, right? And we can teach a whole lesson on this.
Yeah.
And there's to me, like, one of the mistakes that people make, they go too far, too fast in hopes that that's going to build connection. And it does build connection, but it builds connection without trust.
Yeah.
And think about it in terms of money, because it's easier to talk about in terms of money, right? Let's say that you have $100,000. It's the only $100,000 that you're ever going to have. And you have to take that $100,000 and build the rest of your life off of that, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is your seed money.
Yeah.
Before you were to give that to an investor or invest in a property,
Right.
like, let's say that you're gonna take that $100,000 and put a down payment in on a duplex, right? So you're gonna invest that money in.
Yeah.
Would you look at the paint and the lighting and the carpet and the silverware and the couches and the cushions
Right.
and decide if that's the place that you want to buy?
Right.
You wouldn't. Because the paint doesn't really matter. The silverware doesn't super matter. The carpet and the cushions and the couches that are in there doesn't matter. What matters for your investment is the bones.
Yes, the foundation.
Do you trust that place? Is it going to be there a long time?
Right.
Is it about to break down?
That's really good.
Are there unseen things, right? My friend just told me a story the other day. He said, we bought this home and then we were getting really sick like the first few months. We had all these weird stuff. Well, come to find out, a rat had chewed through the plumbing underneath. And so in his daughter's room. So all this water was just dumping under his house. Well, mold and rats. It attracted tons of rats. So you got rat poop and you got mold. And that was hurting them. Yeah. So you have this beautiful house, right? It's got everything that's great, but it's got mold.
Dang.
So why am I saying this about relationships and dating? Is because so many people get so fixated. It's human nature, right? What does it feel like?
Yeah.
What does this do for me? And relationships have a natural anxiety to them. It's the same when you get excited about something, there is anxiety in there.
Yeah.
And it's like the same feeling that I get when I'm pursuing an animal, when LeBron James is playing a game. That same excitement is also the same anxiety that he would feel if something bad was happening to somebody was pursuing him. It's very hard to tell the difference in your brain. It's just, is it attached to something that you want to chase, want to do, or is it attached to something that you're afraid of? And so here's what happens in a relationship. Gosh, I feel like I'm just going so long with these answers, but I really want people to understand.
Yeah.
When you start a relationship, everything inside of you is trying to tell you, like, are you going to marry them?
Yeah.
Do they like you? Are you going to be rejected?
Yeah.
How far, right? And so there's this anxiety to figure that out quickly.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. You don't have the answers that you need to answer those questions.
Right.
And if you try to get those answers without going through the process,
messy.
So messy.
Yeah.
Right? So if I make out with you, if we have sex together, then I'll really feel like you love me. I really feel like we're committed.
Right.
So we try to create this false intimacy. And this is where I'm getting to. Like, here's part of the punchline is when my goal is intimacy with you, when we're dating, the challenge with that becomes what's the process for creating that intimacy?
Yeah.
Because really I can create intimacy with a prostitute, but the end result is dissatisfaction. I'm ultimately going to be in pain. Because I'm going to be left alone, right?
Yeah.
So, but my ultimate goal with my wife is intimacy, is connection.
Yeah.
Therefore, I will do confrontation with her.
Yeah.
In order to have real connection.
Right.
I hope this is making sense to people. Because we have to think through, like, the picture between intimacy with a prostitute and intimacy with my wife is a beautiful picture.
Yeah.
Because it's so true, right? Like, I want intimacy. I was wired for intimacy. I want to be known. I want connection. I can go get that in 10 minutes today.
Yeah.
And I can get it 20 times. It just doesn't last.
Right.
But then if I want this real intimacy with my wife, I have to learn boundaries.
Yeah, you got to put in some work.
I have to learn my needs. I have to learn me. I have to learn if she can handle boundaries. I have to learn if she can handle needs. We have to be able to disagree.
Right.
We have to be able to, okay, and then it's like, I have to be able to know me to start to bring pieces of me to you. So that's why I say it's a ladder.
Yeah.
And when you start building intimacy with somebody, with anybody in any relationship, whether it's dating or friendship or marriage, you start climbing this ladder. On one side of the ladder is trust.
Yep.
On the other are these questions. Like, so the first question I'm asking with a guy, let's do a guy friend, right? A guy I get to know. I just meet him. Maybe I meet him at church. First thing I'm asking myself is he fun?
Yeah.
Like, do I like talking to
I
him?
enjoy him.
Because if I don't like talking to him, then I'm not ultimately probably not going to really trust him.
Right.
And I don't really want to build a ton of connection with him. Let's say that he's fun, but then he only talks about himself. What does that say about a person that only talks about themselves? What's going to be their capacity to really learn, know, understand, nurture, cherish me?
Right.
Well, I don't care how much money he has. I don't care how many hobbies he has. If he only can talk about himself in a relationship, or mostly, it sets off warning signs in me.
Right.
Well, if your goal, and this is where people miss it, right? And they miss it because they don't think through, like, does he have the ability to communicate well? They just go straight to, hunting, fishing. He's wealthy. He
Right.
wants to connect you, right?
Yeah.
Like, he wants to go on all these hunting and fishing trips, but he doesn't want to. Same thing with marriage.
Yeah.
How many people start their dating process and what they're thinking of is this someone I want to marry? And then that you can't answer that. So
high
it
stakes,
raises your anxiety, and then you go like, do they like me? And man, the more beautiful she is, the more successful he is, the more you want that person to like you, just naturally.
Right.
So you skip over this process, like, do they have good core values? Do they love God? Do they, and so many of the people that come in, I was just talking with someone yesterday on a call, and on a counseling call, and she was wanting to get a divorce. And she was wanting to get a divorce because he deals with a tremendous amount of self-hatred and suicide.
Wow.
He's had suicidal stuff for years. Well, what happened? He's had it since he was a kid. Since he was 5, he's been suicidal. And self-hatred. Well, when they got married, when they were dating, they completely just glossed over that piece
Disclosed, yeah.
and dove so deep into one another. So when you're building intimacy, your intimacy should always follow your level of trust.
Yes.
I took a long time to answer this.
A lot of these people they've already been there. They're like, level of intimacy exceeds level of trust. So powerful. He's about to say it. You're on to it. They got you.
But I can talk about what I want today and how long I want to,
No,
right?
it's excellent.
When your level of intimacy exceeds your level of trust, you're in trouble.
Yeah, so good.
So you want to go through the process of, are they fun? Do they know how to do give? Do they know how to express themselves? And then really building intimacy is being able to share your story, being able to be genuine, being able to be authentic, being able to have compassion for yourself, because you have to be able to share your story, right? My story includes oral sex with boys, with a boy. My story includes masturbation addiction at the age of 10. My story includes divorce. My story includes so these are all things that my story came with when I met Lauren.
Right.
It included all that. So it didn't exclude that.
Right.
And therefore, when I when I am dating Lauren, she's got to be able to see the sides of me that makes me,
Right.
the good and the bad and the ugly. So everybody wants connection and intimacy, but that doesn't come through vulnerability. It comes through compassion, courage, authenticity, and vulnerability. They all partner together to create this deep level of intimacy.